All right, so are you ready to get into it? Today, we're going deep on attraction.
Oh, yeah.
Like, really deep.
Lay it on me.
Okay, so, you know how we're always getting all these questions about attraction and dating and all that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you guys sent in this article called 20 Signs a Woman Might Be Attracted to You.
Oh, interesting.
And, it's not just for, like, pickup artists or anything. This
Yeah.
is about, like, the universal language of attraction. You know, those cues that could be sparking a connection with anyone?
Yeah, for sure. It's like a secret code everyone's speaking, but no one really talks about.
Yeah.
It can apply to romantic relationships, friendships, even professional connections.
Exactly. And you know what? Some of these signs are pretty wild.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Okay, like, did you know flared nostrils can actually be a sign someone's attracted to you?
Wait, really?
Yeah,
That sounds kind of strange.
I know, right? But it makes sense when you think about
I
it.
guess so.
Like, when we're attracted to someone, all our senses kind of go into overdrive, right?
Yeah, totally. You want to see them better, hear their voice, even smell them.
Exactly. So flared nostrils, it's like our body's way of taking in more of their scent.
Wow. Who knew our noses were such secret weapons of attraction?
Right. Okay, so this article throws like 20 different signs at us.
Okay.
But I think to make sense of it all, we should try to like group them into some bigger categories.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Break it down a little bit.
What do you think about this? Physiological responses, body language cues, attention-seeking behaviors, and engagement signals.
I like it. Those categories pretty much cover all the bases.
Right. Okay, so let's start with like the physiological stuff.
Okay, so like the physical reactions we have to attraction.
Yeah, like sweaty palms, heart racing, maybe turning red.
Oh, the classic blushing. It's our body betraying us.
Exactly. It's like our nervous system goes haywire.
It's that fight or flight response, but in this case, it's more like flirt or flee.
Haha, I love that.
Yeah, and all those physical signs, they happen because our body is flooded with adrenaline.
So basically, our body is like screaming, hey, I'm interested, whether we want it to or not.
Pretty much. And that's why those reactions can be such strong indicators that someone's genuinely attracted. Because we can't really control them, you know?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, what's next?
So we talked about our insides going crazy.
Right.
But what about our outsides? Like body language?
Oh yeah, body language is huge when it comes to attraction. It's like a whole conversation happening without any words.
Exactly. The article mentioned leaning in, open posture, all that.
All good signs. It shows you're open and receptive to the other person.
And then there's this thing called mirroring. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh yeah, mirroring is fascinating.
It's like when you subconsciously copy someone's posture or their gestures.
Yeah, you start kind of moving in sync with them without even realizing it.
Exactly. And it's supposed to be like a powerful way to build rapport.
It shows you're on the same wavelength, like you're connecting on a deeper level.
So if someone's mirroring me, it means they're totally into me.
Well, hold on now, not so fast. Mirroring can happen in any interaction, where people are vibing, even just friends hanging out.
So it's not a guaranteed sign of attraction.
Not on its own, no, but it definitely adds to the mix, especially when it's combined with other cues.
It's all about context, right? One sign on its own might not mean much.
Exactly. It's the whole picture that matters.
Like if they're playing with their hair while they're mirroring me, that's gotta mean something, right?
Uh-huh. Well, playing with hair can definitely be a sign of attraction, especially if it's done in a flirty way.
Okay, so playing with hair, leaning in, open posture.
All good signs to watch out for.
But what about like biting their lip?
Ooh, lip biting. That one's interesting because it can be both intentional and unintentional.
So how do we know if it's like a come hither lip bite or just a nervous habit?
Good question. You gotta look for those clusters of cues we talked about.
Ah, so like, is there eye contact? Are they leaning in, mirroring my moves?
Yeah, if all that's happening and they're biting their lip, well, that's a pretty strong signal they're into you.
It's like we're learning a secret code, but instead of cracking enemy messages, we're deciphering the language of attraction.
I like that. And just like any code, the key is to look for patterns.
So true. And don't forget about those moments when you're talking to someone and they just seem so engaged in what you're saying.
Ah, yes. Those engagement signals, they're like gold.
Like, are they laughing at your jokes? Are they tilting their head, making eye contact?
Yeah, all of that shows they're genuinely interested in what you have to say.
So even if I'm telling a terrible joke and they're still hanging on to my every word.
Well, let's hope your jokes aren't that bad. But yes, they're definitely a good sign.
It creates a feeling of connection, right?
Exactly. Like you're really clicking with that person.
Wow, I feel like we've covered so much already. This is fascinating stuff.
It is, isn't it? And we've only just scratched the surface. There's still so much to explore, like how cultural differences can play a role, or individual personality quirks,
Yeah, we definitely have to keep that in mind.
because everyone expresses attraction in their own unique way.
Okay, so we've talked about the signs, but how do we actually use this information? Like, how can we apply it to our own lives?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think the answer is understanding these cues isn't just about knowing if someone's attracted to you. It's about becoming a better communicator overall, like in every area of your life.
All right, so we're back, and, my brain is still buzzing from all those subtle signals we talked about.
Oh yeah, it's a lot to take in.
It really is. It's like I never realized how much communication was happening without us even saying anything.
It's true, we're constantly sending and receiving messages with our bodies,
Yeah.
even when we're not aware of it.
So, okay, let's say you're out at a party, right?
I like where this is going.
And you spot someone across the room.
Okay.
They've made eye contact a couple of times, maybe smiled at you.
Right.
What's your next move? Like, do you start analyzing every little thing they do?
Well, you don't want to get too caught up in overthinking every little gesture.
Right, that would be exhausting.
Exactly. But you can definitely pay attention to how they react when you approach them.
So, like, do they hold your gaze? Do they seem happy to see you?
Exactly. Are they open to your presence? Do they seem like they want to engage?
So it's all about reading the room, feeling out the vibe.
Yeah. And remember, attraction is a two-way street.
So if I'm getting those good vibes, I should send some back their way.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Don't be afraid to reciprocate those signals. A warm smile, leaning in a little,
Right.
showing you're genuinely interested in the conversation, all that can encourage things to move forward.
Okay, I can see that. So let's say the vibes are good, you're both feeling a spark.
Okay, now we're talking.
What are some of those signs that things are heating up?
Well, you might start to see some, subtle escalations in physical contact.
Oh, interesting. So like what?
Like a light touch on the arm when they laugh at your joke.
Oh, okay.
Maybe a slight brush against you when you're walking together.
So not like a full-on grab, but just those little, almost accidental touches.
Exactly. Those can actually mean a lot.
Wow, it really is all in the details.
It is. And another thing to notice is their energy level.
Like, are they excited to be around you?
Exactly. Are they energetic?
Yeah.
Enthusiastic? Do they seem to genuinely enjoy spending time with you?
Okay, so we're like detectives of attraction now.
That's a good way to put it.
But I have to ask,
What's that?
are there ever times when we might read the signals wrong? Like, could someone do all these things without actually being attracted?
That's a really good question. And the answer is yes, absolutely.
Well, no. So how do we avoid ending up in an awkward situation?
Well, for one thing, remember that context is everything.
Right, right.
And don't just focus on one single instance. Look at the overall pattern of behavior.
So don't jump to conclusions based on just one smile or a touch on the arm.
Exactly. Look for consistency.
Okay.
Are they initiating contact? Are they actively trying to spend time with you? Those are things to consider.
So basically, don't get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, and sometimes the best approach is just to be direct.
You mean just ask them how they feel?
Exactly. If you're really unsure, there's no harm in being upfront about your own feelings and seeing how they respond.
Wow, that's actually really good advice. It's so easy to get lost in the game trying to read all the signals.
It is, but at the end of the day, honest communication is the foundation of any strong relationship.
It's so true. And speaking of relationships, we've been focusing a lot on romantic attraction.
Right.
But all this stuff, it applies to friendships and even work relationships too, right?
Absolutely. Understanding nonverbal communication can help you connect with people in any area of life.
It's like a universal language of connection.
It is. Think about it. Wouldn't you rather be friends with someone who looks you in the eye, has open body language, and seems genuinely interested in what you have to say?
Oh yeah, for sure.
It makes a huge difference.
So even if I'm not trying to find a date, all this stuff can help me build better relationships with everyone.
Exactly. Let's say you're at a networking event.
Okay.
You want to make a good first impression. Paying attention to your body language, making eye contact, subtly mirroring the other person.
That can really make a difference.
It can. It helps build trust and rapport even in a professional setting.
This is amazing. It's like we're unlocking the secrets to success in every area of life.
I know, it's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not about manipulating people or tricking them into liking you.
Right. It's about genuine connection.
Exactly. It's about being more aware of how we communicate on a deeper level and using that to build more authentic relationships.
Okay, so we've gone from decoding attraction signals to like mastering the art of connection.
It's all connected.
It really is. But before we move on, is there anything that's like a universal deal breaker, like something that pretty much always means someone is not interested?
Hmm. Well, there are no guarantees, but I'd say consistently avoiding eye contact,
Okay.
crossing their arms defensively, turning away from you physically.
So basically, if someone is giving off those closed-off vibes,
Yeah, it's probably best to respect their space and move on.
good advice. Because at the end of the day, it should feel natural.
Exactly. Attraction, connection, rapport. It shouldn't be something you have to force.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. We've talked about the science behind attraction, the cues to look for, and how to use it all to become better communicators.
It's been a great discussion.
It really has, and it's so fascinating how these principles apply to so many different parts of our lives.
Yeah, and remember, everyone expresses themselves differently. There's no one-size-fits-all guide to human behavior.
Of course, of course.
But the more you understand these subtle signals, the better you'll be at navigating social situations.
I feel like a whole new world has opened up to me.
That's great to hear. So, what are you taking away from all this?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is to just pay attention. Be present in your interaction.
I like that.
And notice how people are communicating with their bodies, not just their words.
You might be surprised by what you learn.
That's great advice. So everyone listening, keep your eyes open, your senses sharp, and don't be afraid to connect. We'll be right back after a quick message to wrap up our deep dive into nonverbal communication.
Welcome back to our deep dive. We've been talking all about this hidden language, those nonverbal cues that say so much about how we connect with each other.
It really is amazing, isn't it?
Like, I'm realizing now how much we say without ever actually saying anything.
Right, our bodies are like walking billboards.
Totally. And before the break, we were talking about how these cues are important in all sorts of relationships, not just romantic ones.
Oh, absolutely. They can make or break you in a job interview, for example.
Oh, for sure. I've definitely been in those interviews where you just feel the energy is off.
Exactly. You can have all the right answers, the perfect resume.
But if your body language is saying, get me out of here.
It's game over.
So how do we project that confident energy, especially in a situation like that?
Well, it all comes down to, being aware of how you're holding yourself. Okay, so like good posture.
Yeah, definitely. Sitting up straight, making eye contact.
Smiling, even if you're nervous.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
When you appear confident, it makes other people feel more at ease around you.
And more open to what you're saying.
It's like speaking a universal language everyone understands, even if they don't realize it.
I love that analogy. It's like we're learning a secret handshake.
Right. And the more you practice, the better you get at reading those subtle signals from other people too.
So we're like developing a superpower.
In a way, yeah.
Okay, maybe not mind reading exactly, but
Well, we can get pretty close by paying attention to all those little details.
this has been such an eye-opening conversation. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of how we connect with each other.
It's been great exploring all this with you.
It really has. So, to wrap things up,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say is the most important thing to remember about all this?
I think the biggest takeaway is just to be aware. Notice the signals you're sending out.
And the signals you're picking up from others.
Exactly. Be present in your interactions, and you might be surprised by what you discover.
That's such great advice. So everyone listening, keep your eyes open, your senses sharp, and don't be afraid to connect. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of attraction.